Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining today's online presentation entitled Moving Forward with Healthcare Reform. The ball is back in your court. Starting things off today, we have Rick Johnson.
Thank you, Sean. Welcome to this webinar. I am joined today by Kathy Bakich, who is our Health Compliance Practice Leader, and also by Tupper Hillard, who's a Senior Communications Consultant with Segal. And you can see on the screen all of our names. We will, at the end, have a set of cards with contact information to allow you additional contact with us. Today we'll be covering a number of items that come out of the Supreme Court's decision and the what's next portion of this, as the name of the webinar would indicate on there. We'll be talking about the Supreme Court decision. We'll be looking at today the outlook with both legislative and regulatory, what's coming up there. We'll talk a little bit about the state exchanges and where they're going, and other items and other provisions that are coming along with regard to the Act. We will talk specifically some about the items that public sector employers should have on their agendas or on their discussion list, and finally be talking about how to communicate the ACA effectively. So at this point, I do want to mention also that because of the volume of the material involved and the fact that these things are developing as we go, we have additional webinars planned on the premium assistance tax credit and other topics. So please look for invitations and announcements to those as they are rolled out as well. At this point, I will like to turn it over to Kathy Bakich to begin the discussion. Kathy?
Thanks, Rick. Good afternoon, everybody. So we're going to be talking about the Supreme Court and how they decided the Affordable Care Act. The Affordable Care Act was passed in March of 2010 as part of two bills, both a Senate bill and a House reconciliation bill. But only a few hours after the law was signed by the President, the lawsuits started to be filed challenging parts of the Act. The focus of these lawsuits was a challenge to the individual mandate and the expansion of Medicaid. Specifically, the lawsuits alleged that the individual mandate requiring individuals to have minimum essential coverage or to pay a penalty when they file their tax returns was unconstitutional. The lawsuits alleged that the entire statute needed to be declared unconstitutional. However, the Supreme Court appointed a special counsel for their oral arguments to address whether the entire law had to be thrown out or whether only portions of the law were affected if the mandate was unconstitutional. In addition, the Supreme Court appointed special counsel to address whether a law called the Anti-Injunction Act prevented the court from deciding whether the penalty was constitutional because no one had yet been assessed the penalty. Finally, the court addressed whether the expansion of Medicaid in the Affordable Care Act was constitutional. Before we talk about the conclusion, I'd like to just go into detail about what exactly was challenged in the lawsuits.